not even a little bit. Good evening. Welcome back. Hello, Lauren. Hello to you at home. My name is Jay Ryan. This is the Cars and Comedy Show here in the Late Night Playset. I will not dawdle this evening, so press the bell, press the like, subscribe, do the thing you're supposed to do on all the social medias. I don't understand it. I'm an old guy, but I'm told that that is important. Good timing. Our buddy Vinny Russo is here this evening. We are very excited to talk to him in just a few minutes. Also, look who's in the chair right over there. Boy, it's dark in there. Here, let's turn some lights on. Turn some lights on. There you go. There's Vinny Russo. There's all you guys on Instagram. And all the way up in Canada is, of course, our buddy Mike. Hello, Mike. What's happening, fella?
Hey, everybody.
We are going to be talking... screw it. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. Stay with us. Who knows what it is? It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Vinny says it's going to be great. Will, do your thing.
Sorry. It's like
PG,
Nickelodeon.
Is this a PG show? Yeah,
No,
I don't know.
It's like Nickelodeon. Yeah. Good evening. Welcome back, everybody. It is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023.
Yeah, one day shy of Ken Block Day.
Oh, shoot. You're right.
4-3.
Yeah. Oh, man. Forgot about all that stuff. Way to break it down right at the top.
Start low, work our way up.
That's right. Our guest is Vinny Russo. That's a good thing. I realize I gotta do some shit over there. All that talking, and there's a few things we want to talk about at the top of the show. One is the Marconi Museum. Thank you, Marconi Museum. Thank you to our good buddy Adam Ferrara, who, for no reason whatsoever, included me in that wonderful event, and I therefore included you, and so on and so forth down the line. But we're grateful to have been included. Renee Percy, by the way, a comedian that I did not know previously, is hilarious. Check her out as well as our buddy Adam Ferrara. Both very, very funny. Can't watch them together, though. Adam went to New York the next day, and she flew to Tokyo the next day. So
the show will never happen again.
Good luck finding them together again. But it was great. And like I said, I'm really, really grateful to have been a part of it. Thank you, everybody. Also to the family, too. It was so great to see Vince and Monique. And I consider him part of the family, even though he's not Nick, who's like their AV marketing go-to guy. Anyway, great team over there at the Marconi Museum. Also, congratulations to the official YouTube channel, the official Letterman YouTube channel, for being nominated for a Webby today.
No
That's
kidding.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
they've only been on the air a year, and they were nominated for a Webby in their first year.
That's
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Bringing our buddy up north for that news over there, the host of the official host of the Letterman podcast. Hi, buddy.
Hey, man.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
I
should have
was
said
very
Mike
happy
at the
about
end
that
there. You're
Webby.
probably
I
waiting for your
voted
name,
with 3
Mike. Mike
accounts.
Chisholm.
Still Mike, right? It's me.
I see some additions to your set there. Nice job.
It's coming. It's coming along.
It looks great. Congrats.
Thanks,
and congrats
man.
to the
Still
official
trying to figure out
YouTube
if we should
channel.
put a window case in front or not.
Huh? One more time? I
Oh,
stepped
I
on
said
you.
still trying to figure out if we should put a window case in front of this or not.
Play with it. It's a toy
Yeah.
set, right? Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, ours is. I'm not trying to. Not trying to. We're nuts in here, okay? Don't do what we did. We're just totally full blown nuts. But I would say play with it for a little bit and see how you feel.
Yeah, that's
Don't commit to
exactly
anything.
what's going on. So exciting stuff. We're
Good
hitting
for
our
you.
anniversary this month too. Pretty excited about that.
Oh, cool.
Say that again. I don't know why my
We're
voice
hitting
got
our
out. Say that
1 year
again, Mike.
anniversary this month. Our 1 year anniversary is April 20th, so we're excited about that too.
Wait, for you, the Letterman podcast?
Yeah.
No. Is that right? It's been a year?
Yes, sir.
On
Yes,
420.
sir.
Oh man, congratulations! I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. It didn't. I thought like we were like 6 month mark maybe.
No. On the 20th, so we're not quite there, but it's coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're got some good stuff planned. It's good.
Oh, congratulations! That's very cool. Is that why you have the fancy jacket on today?
Full disclosure, Candy and I have an event right after this show ends, and so I changed for the event in preparation for that. So
So this
no,
is
it's
a
not because of the
preview
anniversary.
for the look you're going to go with tonight.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Wearing a suit for my
Do you
girl
have
tonight.
a monitor? Can you see yourself?
I can, yes.
Oh, okay.
I look dapper.
Is it intended with the one collar out, one collar in? Because sometimes I'll do that with the tongues of my shoes.
No, that wasn't intended. That's more the casual look. And then it's like the mullet except different, right? So the business over here and the party over here.
I see. And I thought for a moment it was a polo shirt because of the way it was displaying, but I see now it is indeed a button down.
Yeah, no. Sort
Can
of
you say what the
disappointing.
event is for?
I can. My wife was raised Jehovah's Witness, and tonight is the memorial. Jehovah's Witnesses celebrate Easter very differently than other sects, sects, of the Christian faith, and they're very. It's at the same time the moon cycles have to do with part of it, and so tonight is their celebration of that, and so we are respecting her family by accompanying her mom and other folks as well to that as well.
I'm totally I'm sorry to make you say all that.
Didn't expect that
I
answer, did you, buddy?
When you said event, I misunderstood. when we say event, we mean something outside. I had no idea, and I'm so sorry to make you share all that. Please forgive me.
Why?
Okay, all right. Okay.
Hey,
It
an
seemed
event's an event.
personal.
We
I'm
could have been
sorry.
going out to dinner.
In my mind, I thought,
we
we're
could've
going
gone
to
out to
this
dinner.
charity thing.
Right.
We're going to we're going to support the the blah 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 or the insurance. He's a finance guy too, so they've always got
Yeah.
dinners and mixers.
Some $10,000 table dinner.
That's exact. Oh, thank you, Vinny, bailing me out. And then yeah. We don't get political on this show, but kind of just we almost did there for a second. Today is probably a day that will live in history.
Yes.
4/4/2023. It's weird. I don't want to. I have no opinion on it other than it's a day I never thought I would see happen in my lifetime, and it's wild, man.
It's yeah. I think I'm trying to figure out how to put it into words, but I think it's going to be a little interesting to see how everything ends up panning out with all of this because.
You mean out there in the world with everybody else?
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think we'll tell our youngins later on in life, where were you the day of this all happening? It's like, no, I was in a studio podcasting.
Literally nothing important.
Yeah.
But I remember on the what do they call it? The insurrection, whatever they
Yeah.
call the Capitol Day. I mean, I remember that like
Oh, yeah.
like a 9/11. Like I'll never forget where we were, what we were doing, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Going holy, just watching TV. All we could do was watch TV, going holy shit. Can you believe this?
Like, this is insane. Oh, it's funny because I get I get texts from all my friends overseas, and I just like I'll check in every once in a while. I'm like, so you guys still think we're insane, right? Like, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. My one buddy, he's like, have you seen our like politics going on in Italy? I'm like, yeah, well, that's a whole different story over there. But like, it's there's.
Everybody's definitely got their own shit right now,
I
but
think it's the entire world is just insane on different levels and for different reasons. But like, yeah, we've all lost our shit.
don't you think? I think that. Have you seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Okay, it was the
Yeah.
Oscar winner, and
Yeah.
it's one that actually deserves it. It's the first time in my life I've actually seen the Oscar winner ever. 45 years old, this is the first time.
I want to see it just because of the because of Short Round.
For sure, right? Data.
Yeah.
But basically, I kind of, about 3 or 4 years before that movie came out, we sort of came to the conclusion ourselves of like, oh, okay, so basically everything is happening everywhere
Yeah.
all at once. And once you kind of get that, you're no longer freaked out by everything. There's kind of like a weird acceptance that goes on.
My question is always though, like, has it always been insane to some level? We just didn't have the technology to share how insane we all are.
Yes.
Because if you hear the stories about like the things that happened in the 1800s, like they're in their own right pretty insane.
They're way worse when it
Right.
comes to like crudity, vulgarity,
Yeah.
brutality.
They just couldn't share it like we did. So I mean, maybe
was
this
all
is just
word of
par
mouth
for the
back
course.
then.
Maybe this is normal, and we really don't know what insane is.
Yeah, well, that's what
The premise of the movie.
the premise of the movie is sort of like the multiverse, basically, of you should be living your best self because it's your choice to
Yeah.
do so, that kind of thing.
Makes
A
sense.
little bit of the Matrix and Back to the Future in there too. It's pretty
After
cool.
listening to all his speeches, like that's more than that's.
You're gonna make me cry right now.
Yeah, like it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like
That was so good.
we need more positive stories like that in the world. I mean, here's a guy who like just gave up and to an extent, and then like people around him wouldn't let him, and he had the fire, and I mean, just to hear the stories. I mean, I was so fascinated by his whole story. It's literally like there aren't very many inspiring stories like that left anymore.
Not at that level.
No.
I mean, well, also, you know what? It's our generation's success story like that too, right?
Yeah.
Because like we grew up with that little kid. We
Oh,
grew
yeah.
up with Short
Oh,
Round
yeah.
because the other ones were the guy and the girl were old. And then the Goonies, like, well, we were one of the kids.
Oh yeah, and he had some of the best lines.
Oh man, I remember in the you call him Dr. Jones, doll. I love that.
Hold on to your potato. Pinches a pal. I mean, how many times do we?
Pinches from.
It's like I still like the Goonies, Shawshank. Like, there's a handful of movies that come on and like you're just stuck watching them. Like, you can't turn them off.
Can't turn them
And
off.
Goonies is definitely on that list.
That's a long list though too.
But
As the
think of
older
the
I
people that
get,
were in that movie with Josh Brolin and all the I mean everybody.
What is
else
his
was
name?
in it. Josh.
close, so close. Brolin.
Brolin,
But
yeah,
yes,
sorry.
and because
Yeah.
he's mega famous now,
Right.
Basically, Barbara Streisand's son, kind of, their marriage.
Anyways, we're either still on track or way off track. So I apologize.
No agenda. No agenda. I told you that in the
Yeah,
green room.
we
No
did.
agenda. It's whatever. I do want to talk about all the things that we would normally hit with you, like some of your clients and the stuff you do with ID. Thank you again for those beautiful tires, the Bridgestone tires on that Mini. We love the ride every single time. And I mean,
Glad it
even
worked
from
out.
the old tires to the new tires, not just
Yeah,
that we
they're
like
good.
that car.
Bridgestone has been has been really stepping their game up lately. The EV Expo is coming up in Long Beach, and they're going to be releasing a new EV-specific tire for Teslas and Mach-E, and then they'll have other fitments later on. But they're starting with all the fitments for the Teslas and the Mach-E's, and it's supposed to be this new groundbreaking tire that is going to last 50,000 miles and better range and all these things. The main thing with it is going to be ride quality, because a lot of times with the EVs, the tires have to be so hard to maintain range that the ride quality really,
Suffers.
So we're going to have a whole right prior the day before the opening of the EV Expo in Long Beach, we're going to have a big press day where we've got all the cars out with all the new tires and let all the journalists take a ride and see what they think of the differences. Because I mean, everybody's just about everybody in the automotive industry at this point has driven a Tesla in some form or another, so that you can kind of educate about it. And then even the Mach-E, I mean, if I know, like, Matt's got one, and the few that I've driven, like, they're stiff, and I know they're supposed to have a little bit of a sports car feel, but I'm curious myself to see what the tire is going to be like. But Bridgestone's really stepping their game up, and Firestone with trying to get out there with their Destination series and be part of like King of the Hammers and sponsoring that this year was the
Holy
first time. And then they're doing Overland Expo coming up in, later on this year.
Oh, wow.
So the company's really there. There's a new.
This is kind of where they were when I was a kid. Like I
Yeah.
remember Bridgestone being like the off-road tire, the white letter tires on all of the
Yeah,
Jeeps
yeah.
and all of the like
with
the
the
Forerunners
dualers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, BF Goodrich kind of took over, and a lot of the other brands that weren't even around when we were younger, like the Nittos and things like that, have really stepped up with the aggressive treads. But a lot of people don't realize that there's Bridgestone, Firestone. I mean, the history. It's pretty neat because the displays that we built for King of the Hammers, there was a wall that had a whole history of Firestone brand, and you don't realize how influential Firestone was in the tire industry over the years of how, and then how they merged in with Bridgestone and became this whole big conglomerate. But like they were the first ones to do a tubeless tire. They were the first ones to actually have an air tire that there wasn't a solid rubber, and all these different these milestones that this company has been around. So it's kind of interesting. But this year they brought in a new kind of head of marketing that they pillaged from Honda. And Davis is really pushing the company, both brands, and it's difficult because it's two brands, but it's the same company. So the poor guy's got to wear two hats at the same time, and us as the agency, also kind of has to do the same thing. So
It's three hats really for him, right? Because you've got to have each individual, then
Yeah.
the overall as
Yeah.
well.
And it's
same for you guys.
They have they have a whole line, a whole separate brand that most people don't even realize that they have that does trailer tires. And commercial tires are huge with Firestone as well. So there's
Right.
a lot of different things. You have certain brands kind of with Pirelli has traditionally stuck with the Italian brands, things like that. But if you look at like Lamborghini, the new STO that came out is on Bridgestones, and it's the first time in decades that a Lamborghini was sold new from the factory without a Pirelli tire on it. So they're stepping their game up big time.
Without an Italian tire at all, right?
So
Wow, that's
Bridgestone's on
wild.
the STO, Bridgestone's on the Serrata. I'm gonna get strung up for that one.
There's so many. I don't know how you keep them all straight these days. You and Matt and everybody else. Like Johnny Lieberman, talk to him. He's an
Forget it.
encyclopedia.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know how everybody does it these days.
It's it's just
Other than
you're
they started-
passionate about it, and that's it. Yeah,
I think I started with the magazines, and I used to know all that stuff. And then at some point, life, right? 20
Yeah.
years of life. And then you get back into it, and you're like, oh, yeah. But I can't pick it up at the same rate, whatever the heck.
It
I
happens
pick it up
quick.
where I was way back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
These guys have just been going the whole time.
I mean, they literally live and breathe it, though. I mean, not that I don't either, but I mean, that is what they do. I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it
you
is.
do too.
I try.
Apple Burst, Cure Pen. Apple Burst,
That's good stuff.
Cure Pen. Thanks to our friends at Chill Clip.
So Bridgestone Firestone are stepping their game up. It's gonna be a good time. And
Sorry to put that donut spot in the middle of your Bridgestone. It was hilarious.
No. Well, if you want to talk all natural, Bridgestone's also going to be. They're starting they have a new compound of rubber that they created that's based off of a plant.
Come on.
Talk
to me.
So it's still in the early stages. They're starting with like some of the IndyCar racing tires because the amount of rubber required for those tires is a little bit different. But every brand is starting to look at other ways to create a tire without using the actual rubber. Something that's a little bit more sustainable.
And not necessarily a hybrid, but like just a whole nother
Yeah, I mean,
different
they'll
compound.
start with a mix.
Okay,
and they'll kind of, a little bit of a blend, and then eventually, but the technology is there from what we've kind of been briefed on, is that eventually it'll go to this strictly plant-based rubber, quote-unquote, compound, and supposed to be, better for the environment with all the same, positive.
We're going to need
things
more
about it.
plants for this plant-based meat
Yeah,
and
it's
the
all-
plant-based
they
tires.
Have
They're gonna
farms
be
out in the. So the thing that's neat is that the farms, this plant, and I cannot remember the name. And oh my god, I'm in so
Hemp.
much trouble. No, it's not.
Hemp tires.
It's a bush, but it grows in the desert. So there's plenty of farmland out there.
right.
And to farm this particular plant is actually also very easy on the environment. It's not like you're trying to make corn or something like that, because you can grow it
The
literally
cultivation
in the
process,
desert.
you
Yeah,
know.
you can grow it in the desert. There's not a whole lot of farms out in the desert. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, it's nice to be able to grow something we need in a place where you can't grow other things we need.
All I pictured when we first did the brief, and you'll remember this of all people, but the Sam Kinison bit where go where the food is and don't. Have you ever heard that bit?
Yes.
Sam? Yeah. So
As
like
far
that's-
as poverty and not poverty.
There's no
starvation.
sand, yeah.
Starvation.
It's sand. It's gonna be in 100 years. It's gonna be sand. So like every time that they redo the brief on the desert, like that's all I hear is Sam Kinison in the background going.
It is pretty funny though, because if you zoom out really, really far to like ancient Egypt and stuff, like that was all lush, like where the
Yeah.
pyramids are, Giza and everything. The Giza Plateau was
Yeah.
all beautiful. It's a plateau. The river used to come up to it. The Nile used to come up to it,
Not anymore.
and it used to be like beautiful palm trees and tropical almost.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
even
like
almost tropical.
The oases that were out there and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, now we've
And then theoretically now all that stuff's buried in Brazil, and it's all being unearthed with all of the radio, photography now, right?
They're finding all kinds of stuff from what I've read.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, in our lifetime,
Back
we
to
get to we get to get some neat stuff happen in our lifetime that we get to be around and see.
Everything everywhere all at once.
Nice.
Well
Nice
done,
circle
sir.
back. Nice circle back.
I know I have to at least ask you about Hot Wheels. I don't know how much we can talk about because I know
There was a little bit of it, yeah. So coming soon will be they will release Hot Wheels Legend Tour will come back this year. That's about as much as I can tell you. Last year was quite successful. This year they've expanded the promotion contest event, whatever you want to call it, it'll be 17 countries this year.
Holy crap!
And so
What was it previously?
Every year they gained more and more, but I think last year it was closer to 12, but there
Even
are
that's still a lot. All
still
right.
a lot. Most of them are virtual because it's difficult to put together the Legends tour like we do here. But last year was very, very successful, and this year the schedule will be out soon, and I will release it to you and make sure you're on the
Please.
list. It should be coming in a couple of weeks. All the official locations and dates and things like that. So.
Historically, the finale is.
I can tell you the finale this year will be at their headquarters in El Segundo this year.
Oh, okay. It's not always there.
No.
Oh, jeez. Sorry.
Well, last
Sorry
year-
to mislead the witness.
Last year the quote unquote finale where they did the actual world finale and they had the voting was actually at Big Dog Garage with Leno. So Leno's big involved.
Oh,
with
you're
all
right.
of
Yeah,
that.
Misha
So,
was there and
yeah.
everything. That's right.
So we did an event at El Segundo. It was in towards the end of the tour itself. But this will be the fun. Well, I don't say the finale, but the final stop will be at the headquarters in El Segundo.
Very
which,
cool.
if nobody's ever been out to Hot Wheels, I mean, we all grew up, playing with cars. It's a neat location to go and see, like the actual motherland.
Yeah, where the things that we played with came from. Yeah, and then they got the real ones there in the lobby
Yeah,
sometimes
because
too.
the designers are all walking around, all the staff is walking around, and they're happy to answer questions. And I mean, they're just super nice. Everybody on there I've ever met is such great people because they're literally living their childhood dream. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
They have a fun job.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's stressful and everything,
Yeah.
but they have a fun job.
Yeah.
They're designing little toy cars.
Not a terrible thing.
That's
to do.
rad.
No.
And they get to have so much, like, think of like a real like if you're putting on a real car and you get to design that. That's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a major thing. But it's like one every couple years. You got to work on that one car forever.
Yeah.
These guys get to crank out all sorts of cars and
I
do
can't remember the
designs.
exact figure, but I think they've done like 65,000 different designs over the course of the entire brand of Hot Wheels. It's something ridiculous like that.
How many years is Hot Wheels? 50?
Over 50. Yeah.
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 That's a shit ton.
Yeah, it is, and it to the employees and the designers specifically, like they take such pride in it because a lot of them they played with it as kids. So that's what makes the Legends Tour kind of so special because you have somebody who built their grew up with Hot Wheels. They got older, they were able to build their dream, and then in reverse, they have a chance to win their dream build turned into a Hot Wheels that not just you get one or two, but you get a chance to it gets sold retail worldwide. And so some little kid can walk into Walmart and pick your car up off the shelf and go home and play with it. And as a car guy, that again hits you right in the feels because that's the theme of today apparently.
That's cool, but when you're right, nice. When your box arrives with all of those and you get to give them out to your friends,
Yeah.
that to me is it because when you were a kid, it was
Yeah.
getting or giving a Hot
Yeah.
Wheels to a friend, trading them, I guess.
And think about, I mean, they've still managed to keep the price still about, $1.25, $1.50. Special editions are a little different, but
I don't want to get into how they're able to do that because I don't think I would like the answer. It's absolutely incredible.
it's probably the same algorithm that Costco uses to sell their hot dogs. So,
Those are good too.
right? I mean, so
Pizza too. I don't know how they do that.
So we'll see.
That's a big hot dog for $1
yeah, so
or
coming
whatever.
soon, further details on the Legends Tour for this year.
Who won last year? I can't remember what the major what ended up getting made.
From
Was it a
Houston.
Corvette? I
No,
can't
it
remember.
was from Houston. It was a big, ridiculous. So they, it was an Autocam, or not the AutoZam. It was basically like a Japanese K-car truck that they built on a full subframe with a small block Chevy and lifted on tractor tires and things like that.
So it
And
was a full custom build.
Yeah, it was God, I cannot believe I'm drawing a blank here. It was something like the Big Toot or something like that. It was something.
Big Toot?
Yeah, it was completely crazy because he had air horns on it, and it was like you literally like it was. It was like 8 feet high. Like he had to bring it out on a specialized trailer that he built to bring it out to the event, and it was
I didn't
amazing.
realize that. I always thought, I was like, boy, I wonder if my chances would improve, or like, because our car is literally just a
But
Porsche
basically
997 as
Yeah.
far as the mold goes.
Yeah.
It's all on the outside. It's just decals and the
It is
wheels
what
and
it
whatever.
is,
the
right.
fuck.
But I mean, Magnus had his line of stuff. I mean, that was essentially
Oh
the same
yeah,
as well,
for sure.
so-
Yeah. I mean, totally the same thing. You're right.
Yeah.
Good call.
I don't know if that makes you feel less special or more special, but I mean, you're right
yeah,
along the
I
same
don't know
design,
either. I don't know
design
either.
line. So, yeah, so it's a neat event though. It's neat to see the kids and the parents and the dads acting like kids and sharing that part of what they grew up doing, that they can be out there. So
Lest there be any confusion, I meant that I didn't think I was on that level. Not that I would have any problem being compared to Magnus at that. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get letters. I'm telling you, you can't please everybody.
I'm in too much trouble. I can't remember half the facts of the Hot Wheels. I'm going to be in all kinds of trouble.
The conversation from before the show
Yeah.
about you can't please everybody.
No.
You have to be okay with not being liked.
Yes, it's kind of my job though. I should probably have.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like you. I would tell you.
I try not to.
I can't imagine anybody doesn't like. How could anybody not like? I sound like your mother now. I want to pinch your cheeks.
I agree.
I have a funny story about a job interview that I did. There was one year I was interviewing. This is years ago, and I was interviewing for a job. And I'm not going to say the company, but I met the person I was supposed to interview with at SEMA one year. And I had given him my resume ahead of time, and he's like, "Look, I'm going to be at SEMA. You'll be at SEMA. Let's just meet there and talk." And I literally told the guy, he brought it up. He's like, "Well, you didn't include a reference letter, a list of references," which I personally think is silly anyway, because it's like basically here's a list of my friends that are going to tell you something good about me anyway. So what's the point?
Oh man, I've always felt the same thing.
So-
Shouldn't you find references on me?
Right.
that
So
trick
what
me?
I did was we sat down.
That's
and I told him. I
hilarious.
said, listen, we're at SEMA. This is the industry I'm in. This is the industry you're in. I said, you drop my name to anybody here. If they know me by name, I go, you can use them as a reference and ask anything you want.
That's
and he-
amazing. What a move!
And he was like,
baller
and,
move.
and
Vinny.
he's like, he didn't know what to say. And so I was like, I'm just if they know me by name, I was like, feel free to just poke around.
What do you
and ask.
think of him? Yeah.
And I didn't hear from him like the whole rest of the team. He's like, all right, well, we're going to be busy the rest because it was Monday, and so Tuesday was getting ready to start everything. And I was like, we'll touch base after SEMA, whatever. And so I talked to him like a week later. He goes, you weren't kidding, were you? I was like, no. He goes, no. He goes, not everybody I talked to. He goes, knew who you were. He goes, but the ones that I did happen to, bring up to, he's like,
The
I was
best.
I was like, there's my reference letter. So I've worked hard to be able to be able to do that in this industry. So I like to brag about it a little bit. I mean, but
The nice thing is you don't have to. That's the funny thing, because that's a rare occurrence
Yeah.
where the what's the word I'm trying to think of? Where the reputation doesn't
Yeah.
precede you,
right.
Because
And
generally
I'm
it does.
sure there's got to be people out there that think ill of me in some respect or whatever. But I've tried very hard to maintain.
I'm trying to think how I would have met you through Matt, obviously.
Yeah.
Matt Farah, and I wouldn't probably have known you before that. So
Probably
like
not,
you
no.
you get grandfathered in, like, oh, he's one of Matt's friends, so you know he's okay. But then like
that's-
you, I love you, not just as Matt's friend. Like I love you.
Well, thank you, and I love you guys too.
It's so.
But yeah,
fucking-
it's
I love him.
But in this, I learned early on that in this industry, and I've been lucky enough to work. I was in radio for years as well, and one of my mentors was this guy Mike Olivero, and he was a promotions and marketing director at the stations that I worked at, and I learned early on that from him that it's basically it's your reputation. I mean, it's. I had two guys, Ron Shepard, Joe Mama Johnson was his on-air name.
Excuse me.
And he had a sign above his desk, and I'll never forget it. It said JOBDONE, and he was the promotions director, and it was basically the rule of the land as an intern was like, get the job done. He's like, I don't care. I don't want to know how it happens. I don't care how it happens. As long as the job gets done, just do it. And then Mike was the more political type of guy, and he was the one that, he was the marketing director. He was in control of all the tickets and had all the contacts, and he was the guy that everything was a phone call away. And I remember, I remember just being so amazed how, again, we could go anywhere in Tampa and, we go to a nightclub, we go to a restaurant, and if they knew Mike, they were like, oh, you work for Mike? Yeah, you're good. And it always, I always thought that was the neatest thing. And, you learn that, people don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
They don't forget. They don't forget the good. They don't forget the bad.
Where'd you grow up?
I was born in New York.
Yeah.
But I did grow up in Florida. So
No,
I'm very quick to remind everybody that my birth certificate says New York. I moved to Florida young, but
you grew up both in big metropolises, and I think like I have what you're talking about, but I always credit it to being like a small town mentality where you can't fuck over the next three guys because you're going to see those next three guys every day.
Well, it's funny because growing up in Tampa, like we had the group of friends that I had in Tampa were all from New York in one form or another, or the tri-state area really. And, having that Italian kind of heritage, everything is, handshake, integrity, your word is your bond kind of a thing.
Yes.
And I didn't realize how important that was as a kid. It's just, that was how I grew up, that my dad was like, look, you say what you do what you say. If you have to say no to somebody, you have to say no. You can't say yes and then forget about it and just do whatever. Like, this is how it has to be. And it's uncomfortable, but in the long run, it's better. And a lot of times it's like, no, but let me figure out a way and I'll get back to you if I can do it. But so many times the generation now is like, oh, yeah, I'll take care of that. And then
ghost you. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So-
seen that too.
right? It's annoying as hell.
Crazy.
And the funny part is moving here to California, most of my friends, Matt's from the tri-state area. Most of my friends are all from the New York area, and have kind of been imported here, and that's the group. And so, over the years,
That's
Mike
interesting.
Musto and, a lot of these other guys, it's like in living and coming
Connecticut,
from
New
that area.
York.
Right. So I trust your judgment on people. So if you were to call me and say, this is a good guy, he's a friend of ours.
The credibility is better than the average.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Right.
I'm with you there.
There are times you have to earn it, but I know that if you give them a blessing, then okay, they're in. And my reputation was always that, if I say yes, then you can count on it. And it's going to happen. And come hell or high water, I'll find a way. Or I'll be honest and tell you I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way in this industry, in the automotive industry, because things happen quick, and and we're all in it for life. I have friends when I started out at, my first automotive job really was DuPont Registry.
I always forget that. I always forget it because I loved it growing up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I
we went from
obsessed
Auto
with it.
Trader to DuPont Registry, right?
It was one of the most expensive magazines you could get at the stand, and I would save up my allowance
it was
and
car
get
porn.
it. For
that's
sure.
what it was. And
Good.
so when I got the
Car
job there,
porn. It was car porn.
That's how we. That's again. It was.
Excuse
we
me,
used
sir.
to
I'm
get the
not
black and white
18, but
Auto
I'd like to
Trader.
buy this magazine that has all those shiny cars in it.
Every airport you'd go to, it was on the newsstand. It was there, and that's how it
next
was.
to the Rob
And,
Report.
working there, I was lucky enough to go to all of these different, events, and we'd be set up for shows, the international auto shows, or the Pebble Beaches and things like that, and anything else. So I got to meet all these guys, and I still have friends to this day from when I started that they were on the low rung of the totem pole. They were going out, setting up the booths, and working for Rolls Royce is some great job, and now they're like VP of marketing for Aston Martin, or all these, So we've
They used
all
to set up the tables.
but I was too. So
Yep.
you go to the auto show, and I'm the guy in the booth bringing the car in, and the guy next to you, at the Ferrari booth is also rolling his cars in. We're the first ones there and the last ones to leave. So you develop, and you see them at every show. You're at Detroit, you're at New York, you're here and there, and then you develop this friendship over the years, and then you start growing through the industry. They start growing throughout the industry. And you cross paths one way or another. You're constantly changing brands, you're constantly changing responsibilities, but the one thing is you're still here. And so, I'm lucky that I learned early on how important that was to be able to keep that reputation and, and maintain those relationships, because
But it sounds to me like it was instituted in you. Hang on, let me see if I can say this right. It seems like it was put in you as standard operational procedure instead of some people are like, oh, I went the extra mile, I finished that one. Like,
yeah, it's
you know what I mean? Where you're like, no, you have to finish it, and if you don't, it's failure.
yeah, basically it's what it was.
Most people are like, oh, if I finish it, it's extra credit, right?
Well,
Where's my pen on the back?
a lot of it in when I started working excuse me, sorry, in radio, the we had an engineer that used to joke around, and in radio, like, the show must go on, right? Obviously same thing in TV, especially with your guys' background as well. It's
Dead air is dead air.
right. So the joke with the engineer was always like, look, if I can't walk you through fixing it over the phone,
There's our comedy.
yeah,
I'm
that can't
sorry.
happen in real life. The joke in radio was that, that he used to tell us, like, if I can't walk you through fixing whatever the problem was over the phone, it's probably not getting fixed then anyway. So you had to kind of think on your feet and, walk and figure out how to explain the problem in a way that, the engineer on the other side of the phone understood it, and then they had to figure out a way to walk you through, maybe without having that technical background, but able to figure it out. It's all just problem solving, but it's being able to communicate the problem in a way that the other person understands.
And knowing all of the logistics from all of the different perspectives. That's something most people don't know because they've only learned one different trade. You've bounced around enough. I'm familiar. You and I are so similar like that. We're like Boy Scouts of our trades. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they think the entertainment industry is, that aren't in it. They probably, and I'm just assuming, but I would guess that, and from what I've heard, they assume it is a different way. They don't realize how much problem solving goes into what we have to do to make, magic happen, so to speak.
For an event or for a shoot,
I consider myself very lucky to be able to have. I worked with some amazing people and learned a lot about personalities. And I mean, I worked for years under Bubba the Love Sponge and some of these.
I always forget that. Yeah, I said chicken-o the other day. I said it wrong, but however, chicken-o, whatever he used to say. What did he say? Was it check it out or shake it up or chicken-o?
He barely spoke English, but it was. But he was
Florida. He was the king of Florida radio.
He was the king of Florida radio. He was good friends with Howard Stern. But there is
Hulk Hogan for a bit,
and they're real close friends. But that's a prime example of having a personality that, love it or leave it, that's who he was, because he was off the air who he was on the air. And again, love it or hate it, he had guys that were that were fans to the point where they were loyal to the point of insanity, and then they had other people that hated him, and would take a shot at him if they had the chance, but they all listened.
In 2016, they had the guys with the big trucks with the dualies with the Trump flags and all that.
Oh yeah.
No judgment on that. I remember 10 years before that when the same thing was happening and all those flags said Bubba the Love Sponge. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, BTLS and I grew up with all that in all over Florida, so it was kind of crazy. But those working with those people, it's all those different personalities and all those different. You have to learn how to. I'll be in a meeting with somebody like Bubba the Love Sponge or any of these other radio personalities are very kind of weird. And I say that because my ex-wife is one, and still to this day. And
what?
Yeah, my
probably don't want to fixate on this, but I'm curious.
Her name is Lana, and she's a morning show DJ on QIK in Tampa, which is like a heritage country station, probably one of the oldest country stations in the country. So she started out in rock radio and then transferred to country station.
Had no
idea. Which sounds like a weird transition, but it was actually pretty cool. So
probably in Florida, it's not that weird of a transition. It might be weird other places.
No, the
Detroit, it might be.
The artists are a little bit different. I mean, she never listened to country before ever like taking the job. She was a rock girl. She grew up, like full like tall hair and the whole nine yards.
I got you. So
she was a rock girl through and through. And then, but there was an opportunity to go in country radio. It was a little more stable. It was a little bit,
it's more conservative.
Actually, in radio, it's just a matter of there was an opportunity there, and in radio, you take it. It's you take what you can. And her old boss had transferred over, and he was settled in, so he brought her over there.
Wild.
But
do you remember the scene in Private Parts where he's either in Detroit and it's a rock station and they change formats in the middle of the day and all of a sudden it's a country hop along Howie with
and it happens like that. I mean, it absolutely happens like that. I mean, I was involved with stations flipping, where we would go to the office and we would like middle of the night take the station vans out of the building, bring them somewhere else, and like have them peel stickers off and things like that, and they would be painted in the middle of the night. And
rebrand them overnight.
They would come back, and like at midnight, the station would flip channels, and then all of a sudden, like people were in some cases locked out of the building if they and they were. Sometimes it was that dramatic where they literally like
if there was animosity.
They flipped formats and like they kept it automated until they could get the proper staff in place or in from wherever they were going. It was crazy, but we literally had pulled
That's
station
like
vehicles.
Pirate shit, but on 50,000 watts.
And within your own company, like as a promotions and a person for like, at the time I worked 93.3 FLZ, which is a huge top 40 station nationwide, and then 98 Rock is another heritage AOR station. But like I remember when we flipped stations, we would us as the promotions team would go in and we'd all go in the middle of the night, grab bands, and and at midnight you'd hear them flip over. But radio wars were a thing. I mean, we did some stuff. Oh my God, we used to we'd sneak over to competing stations and we'd super glue their door locks.
No.
All kinds of stuff. I
See,
mean,
so these are the stories you would hear. Remember, again, back to Howard Stern, but they were doing some
they
live
did,
show somewhere and somebody was cutting the cord and everything.
Wow. Oh yeah. Because So I was as an intern, I lived about 45 minutes away from the station, and Friday morning I would get up and drive to the station. We would set up all the promotions for, prize boxes and gas up the vans and make sure everything's good for the weekend.
Oh, all the T-shirts and all that
T-shirts
stuff.
and things like that. We had them in prize boxes, and we would Friday afternoon we would go to a happy hour event somewhere. Friday night was a club gig somewhere. We'd get done with the club gig, maybe bring some people back to the station and party because overnights was live. And we would hang out with the live guy overnight. And then 6 a.m. you had Rick Dees and you had Casey Kasem. And so like one of us had to run the board for Rick Dees, and this is, carts doing drops and the whole 9 yards, 6 to 10 a.m. And then at 10 a.m. we'd
And Rick
leave.
was here in town, right?
He was here, but he.
Oh, you weren't.
I wasn't. No, this is
so
back
confused.
in Tampa when they were
That's right.
syndicated.
Okay, got it.
But they would send
Oh,
out
but you
like,
still have to run your local because
your
the
local.
program is syndicated, but
they
you're
would
still
send it out
running
on
a live
CD.
hour.
Yeah, they would send it out. This is before even they would send it over the internet. They would send it on CD, and you'd have to sit there and play each track and let him do his, because he would record his show early. Even here, they wouldn't run that show live. They would run it earlier in the week and
But
with the countdown.
For anyone else who doesn't understand how all of this radio works, it would be like me sitting here and doing this show with a taped interview.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, but I still have to run here and do the board live and make sure all the
Commercials
commercials
had to be
are
local,
in.
and the drops were all over.
Donut spots,
yeah,
again, back to that.
And
I
drops
listened to that every week and had no idea.
Yeah. So those like little, they call them drops, but that's that like, oh,
Casey
FLZ.
was in New York, wasn't
Yeah.
he? So that
Yeah.
you may have gotten the real one.
So we would get on like Thursday or Friday, we would get a FedEx package or a UPS, envelope or whatever with the CDs for the show. Every CD was an hour, and then we would play that, and then we would do the drops and the commercials and stuff in between there. But
This one goes out to Eleanor.
But remember,
in
most
Wichita.
of us that were doing those, like if I had to run the board, like we had stayed up the whole night previous partying. So maybe we got a couple hours, maybe we didn't get any. The show would be over. We'd go and like hit a car lot, with free hot dogs and give out prizes. Go back to the station, sleep for a little bit, back out Saturday night for parties, and then back to the station overnights. And and then Sunday we'd do a couple of things. And I would sleep at the station. I wouldn't go home again until Sunday night.
Did you have that grind in you always? Because you have it now, and
I
you
think
certainly
I
had it
did.
then.
I mean, I don't remember as a kid ever, not having that follow through. But yeah,
It's not just follow through. It's just like, you make sure that your time management's very good.
There's people that know how to do a job and finish it, and some people have no idea.
I think a lot of it comes from, my parents were both hard workers. My dad was a mechanic for 30 years, so that's a job that the job has to get done. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, whatever.
You can't go to work for the next week or so.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it is. And my mom was she was a stay-at-home mom, and then she started doing stained glass, and she was a stained glass artist. Again, another job where it has to, it gets completed and it gets done. And, but I think it was more, just the, I could never be comfortable with just blowing things off like that. Mm-hmm. And,
But do you ever relax, though? I mean, all right, your work ethic is good, but I can't. Like your birthday party, everybody was swinging golf clubs because we were at that the party place. I just, that was the most relaxed I've ever seen you, and you were up and down and over here and over. I mean, it was like
it drives tennis crazy because like at night, like if I stop, I collapse. Like it's like I'm done. Like if I at the end of the day, because I'm
when
usually,
you crash, you crash.
Yeah, I'm usually up at 4.
Dude, that's earlier than anybody I know. 4:45 seems to be the
again,
magic number.
But remember, coming from being in radio, when Lana worked mornings, she had to be at work at 5:30. So the dogs were up at the house. I was
their
up.
show schedule.
I was working at Lamborghini, so I would be up talking to Italy, who was 6 hours ahead. So by the time my dealers came in at 9 o'clock, I had already dealt with all the stuff at the factory I needed to deal with. So I have just always been, and thankfully, Tanis is an early riser as well. So she's up at 4:15. I'm usually up. By then I'm usually at the gym by 4:30.
That's so badass.
And again, but the flip side is we're
What time
usually
do
in
you
bed
crash?
by 8:30.
8:30, okay.
But like if I stop at 7:30 to sit, and she's like, "Would you just sit down and relax?" And I'll sit on the couch, and like next thing you know, I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm cashed.
You can't plan on watching a movie or whatever because the moment
It's hard.
Yeah.
We literally have to plan on watching a movie.
And then you save up
Yeah.
energy to
Yeah.
not. Oh boy.
So
Yeah, that would drive me nuts too.
But
Although our old
it's a
life
lifestyle.
was actually pretty much like that. It's just nowadays we
Every
can't do it.
time I'm like, oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. Everything was a constant response to someone.
But
So I
yeah.
get
And you
that.
figured you would catch up on sleep later because you wouldn't You
yeah,
would
I'm
be
sure
up at night. You'd be up in the morning.
Your emails never stopped. Your phone never stopped ringing.
Never,
Like,
and I wasn't good at that break. I should have been better, but that
Oh,
break.
taking time for yourself. You mean?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Well, you
It's
know, how
constant.
she was in the same kind of thing in a service industry where your phone is on. Both of your phones are on all the time, and sometimes it's disaster, and you don't know what time of night that's going to be.
People think it's just doctors. Like, I know doctors that have way more free time than I ever had.
Same. Someone
well,
called
they're
me.
on call and they're off call.
Right.
They get a downtime.
Yeah.
Someone called me at 3:30 in the morning when a Twitter got hacked. It's
Yeah.
like, what do you want me to do? I'm in the different coast. Like,
and no one's at Twitter right now.
no, no one.
But it's crazy because people think that like people like doctors or like firefighters, they're on for 24 hours and off for 48. But when they're off, they're off.
Mm-hmm.
Like unless something 9/11 style happens. Like
Oh, an
they're,
emergency is an emergency, but
they're
otherwise.
calling in people from reserves. But other than that, like normal stuff, like they're not getting a call. We do though. And if your phone rang at 3:30 in the morning, it's never a good call.
Exactly.
Never.
Exactly.
So it was.
Did I tell you how cute my kitten is?
No, it's
Not that.
You're drunk, go home. That would be about the answer to that if that was the case. So
Good call.
It's
You can do that
It's
too.
a little strange. So, but yeah, I don't think I would ever. I don't think I would ever change it. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to be any other way.
Good. Don't change. We all love it.
Thank you.
I want to talk about Westside Collector Car Storage because
Oh,
I
big
was
things are
there.
happening.
I was there for all of the. You know what I
Big
mean? The
things
first
are
one I
happening.
was there from the moment it was a structure to what it is now, and I just because I was there every day, I felt like a part of that process. I feel like so outside on this one. What's going on?
So unfortunately, the weather has caused a little bit of a delay, but we do have a second location. It's funny because Westside Collector Car Storage, for those that don't know, is a high end. It's really, I hate thinking that it's a car storage facility. It's really a concierge facility.
Mm-hmm.
Matt had this vision of creating something so that the people that are in a position to enjoy a lot of these high-end cars or really any collector cars, and we've got all kinds of stuff there, but to be able to enjoy the time they spend with the cars. And that's really the idea behind it.
Yep.
A lot of times, you either are limited to space, so you can only have one or two cars, where a lot of us as car people are crazy and we like to have a selection of things. You don't have just one pair of sneakers, right? And it goes back to my theory where, having cars is not transportation. It's an experience, and every experience is different. There's a whole big thing that we can talk about a whole nother time. But Matt understood that because he was one of those people. And like he was spending so much, he had all these cars, but he was spending so much time having to do things for each car. He didn't get to enjoy them so much. So he had this idea of, not just creating a storage facility, but creating a community and a facility where, he can help everybody and spend more time enjoying their cars.
Mm-hmm.
So having your car there, the staff there basically does everything for you that you wouldn't necessarily have time for. And it could be a matter of you're out of town because you live somewhere else, but you want to keep your car here. You fly in because the roads here are amazing. So maybe you live in, Texas or Oklahoma, where maybe not the most enjoyable of all drives, and we have all the canyons here that are amazing. We have customers that will fly in on a Friday morning. We have pick up from the airport there, bring them back to the facility. Their car's washed. If you want us to put gas in it, we check the tires. Everything gets inspected. They go through. The guys at the shop are amazing. Like if your tires are old, they call and let you know. If your registration is getting ready to be expired, they'll let you know, so that you can handle everything. That when you get there, we hand you the keys. Go enjoy your car.
I've seen a handful of these drop-offs where people, they get picked up at the airport, they come over, they get their cup of coffee, and then they go. It feels like a new car delivery, even though it's their car.
Every time, their car. Yeah, every time.
And they said
the
that.
idea.
They said that.
Matt's got guys that will come on site and change tires. He's got guys that will come on site and do tint or
The paint guy, the paint dentless, and all the
dentless
paint.
paint. If you nick your wheel up he really there's very, very little that he won't do. I mean, we've got cars there that the guys are, exercise. Every car there stays on a charger. Every car there gets started up and brought up to operating temperature once a month. Certain cars get driven because the older cars, the drivetrains actually need to be brought up and used a little bit. So we do everything that we can do. And if we see a car, if we're moving a car and there's an oil, drip, we'll check it out. We have relationships with all of the different dealerships. If your car is due for service, the Teslas are funny because we'll get a call from an owner and be like, "Hey, my Tesla just called me and said it needs to go in for an update." And so we
It's funny,
arranged,
it's at the top of the rack right
yeah,
now.
we arranged that for them. And between Matt and I, we have relationships with a lot of these, strange. Matt's friends with Marco at TLG, the air-cooled Porsche specialist. And Marco's generally on a huge waiting list, but because of the relationship
He's
he has
actually
with
usually
Matt,
not even taking customers
yeah,
anymore.
a lot of times, right.
It's a
But
permanent
because of
waiting
the relationship
list.
that he has with Matt, and membership has its privileges, kind of a thing. If our customers with the air-cooled cars, again, to maximize the amount of time they're spending it, I mean, Matt can call in a favor and say, look, we can get you in, I'll get your car in 2 weeks. It's that kind of level of service that he tries to create. So we have this,
It's a one-of-a-kind thing.
Yeah,
I think that's why it's hard to describe.
And
It's
he's
much.
he's on a waiting list right now for the first facility, and he was sold out within months of the spots there. So
it was weeks. I was
Yeah.
I was there. I remember
So
that was crazy.
that created Matt realizing that level of service, could be expanded a little bit. He found a location near Hawthorne Airport in Gardena. Now the first location was built from the ground up. It's probably the safest, most secure facility probably in the country, definitely on the West Coast.
Definitely in Southern California.
I mean, there's every car to get in or out of the facility has to go through 2 secured gates. There's 40 something, security cameras. There's redundant fire suppression systems. There's, everything that the air is maintained. And if there's carbon monoxide that goes through there's filtration systems that kick on automatically.
You remember that scene in the
crazy.
Vatican from
like
the
that.
movie? It's like
that.
It's that secure in there.
And so Matt found another facility. He found this building in a little bit of an industrial park that had a lot more space because strange enough, there isn't much parking space at Matt's parking facility.
Well, it's paid parking there. It's
So the idea was just going to be, we have a couple of spaces in the front, drop your car off and pick up the new one and go. So he wanted.
It works out well that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay.
So he just needed another facility. Found this place, had renovations, plans on gutting it and going from there. Well, the building directly next to it came up available, and that one had like offices and a conference room and a lounge and everything already in there. It was a vape factory and it was their corporate offices. So he had negotiated with this person. So now he combined the two into this compound.
Holy cow.
That's at the end of this industrial park, and it's going to be secured and gated. There'll be room for probably 60 something cars. So if we want to do a meet there,
holy cow, this is awesome.
If Good Vibes happens to have an issue with the weather.
Yes,
we can,
please.
We
when
can,
are you
we
open?
Can, we can
We're having
transport that
issue.
into there, and we'll be able to do a lot more. The other thing is Matt was limited to in the first location is size. The lifts could accommodate 6,000 pounds, but there was a height requirement, width, and things like that. So the next facility, the lifts are stronger. It's only going to go up one level, but we could fit a Sprinter van. We could fit a lifted truck. We could fit things that normally wouldn't fit at the first facility. Now we have room for that, and so. The detail area will be even more extensive, and we'll be able to do even more with paint correction and ceramic coating and things like that. So, but he wanted to have another facility where he could do more interaction with the customer. Not a social club or anything like that, but we do have customers a lot of times waiting for planes. They'll take conference calls and they'll take their Zoom calls and things like that. So this will have a dedicated facility to be able to do that for a lot
I love
of
hanging out in the lounge of the other one. Like whenever there's a podcast going on, and it's sort of like the green room.
It's kind of a green room, yeah. I mean that's he wanted it simple. He didn't want it to be a country club. He didn't want it to be a social club. He wanted to kind of keep it business.
There's 4 chairs in there.
Yeah, that's it. Nice
It's
and
exactly
simple.
what it's supposed to be.
Simple. And he has his podcast at the first facility. So the second facility will be a little bit more, business related, but, it'll hold, I think, in addition, depending on how we park the cars, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of like almost 180 cars.
Wow, that's awesome.
So between the two facilities and, motorcycles and all kinds of crazy stuff.
So do you, in the vape factory portion, are those offices or is that all being stripped out? Or?
He knocked some of the stuff that we would never use down. There was a couple of things that never, but he didn't have to build.
Speaking of the vape factory over
right.
here.
I mean,
He didn't have to build bathrooms. He didn't have to build, so he had to reconfigure the first building because he had all of that designed with an architect to be that was going to be the building.
But now you don't need to put it
so
in
now,
there.
So now that first building is now all storage. There's basic stuff, a small office, a bathroom, and that was it, because all the other administration stuff will go into the main building now and go from there. So that being said, this whole long story was because it's kept getting delayed. And then now that we're at the final hour and we've had rain for the last 12 weeks.
The weather has been shit.
So he had to dig a trench for something to put this secure wall up, and they brought in this like fill dirt, and then the dirt got wet. So they had to literally move the wet dirt out and bring in dry dirt. It's like, you don't think about that kind of stuff, in normal stuff, but poor Matt's had to learn all of these things about permitting and construction and stuff that he's
all over again.
Didn't want to learn, but now he's learned. I mean, you don't have to, who
now he knows how to build a building, and now he knows how to redo a
renovate.
building. Yeah.
So it's going to be really
That
cool.
guy is awesome.
He
Like
is.
that's the safest thing to talk to a car person because he knows his shit.
Oh yeah, he absolutely does. And it was neat because I remember him talking about it, thinking he should do it. Does he? Should he go through it? But he had this vision of what he's like. This is what I would want if I was a customer.
And it doesn't exist.
And it didn't exist at the time. And even the few that are out there around the country. I mean, Otto in Phoenix, and there's a few down in San Diego. A lot of them are more social related, which is perfectly fine. But that's okay. But there's a time and a place for that. But Matt has a very specific we're here to make sure that you spend the time driving your car, not hanging out with us in our office.
And even if they did the exact same thing, there's nothing like that in Los Angeles. And this is like SoCal is the culture hub
so
for
customer service
automobile
oriented.
in America.
Yeah, I mean, to know, it's a whole separate podcast to go through what Matt had to go through for the EPA to be able to have actual water, to be able to detail your car the right way. And he brought in Larry from Ammo to teach the guys the detailing. We use all the Ammo products, so it's all the best stuff.
Is it the same system at the new place?
Yeah.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool. Because
Yeah.
that was a huge fucking deal.
Oh yeah, where he's the only facility in the area that actually uses water to detail the cars. Because he has these filters that have to be inspected
'Cause
once
he's
a
allowed
year and
to.
all these other things. Yeah, because he does it the proper way. So it's kind of crazy, but it works. It works, and the customers are all really happy. I think it's neat to talk to all the customers and hear the stories about what they do and how they got to where they are, or hear the stories about the cars they have there. And I mean, he's got Danica Patrick's GoDaddy car there that
The NASCAR
car. He's got
That's a privately owned car, right? That's
Yeah.
not Danica's just
so
parking
the
it
story
there.
the story that I was told was that the gentleman that owns it was the crew chief for her team, and when he retired, it was that year, and the team gave him that car as a going away present, so to speak. That was the story I told.
That's
I was
awesome.
told, yeah. So again, I can't confirm that myself. I didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, but that was the
that's
story
pretty
that
good.
we were told. So it's kind of cool. But I mean, he gets.
I love going over there just because you get to peek in there and
Yeah.
see there's always something mysterious in there, something you're not allowed to take a picture
it's,
of or talk about.
There's an underground area that there's cars
That's
that are
actually
very
my favorite
secure.
part.
Yeah,
The Batcave?
Yeah, the Batcave.
The fucking lighting in the Batcave. Don't get
Very
me started.
cool. Yeah. So the second facility should be open. It should have been open, earlier. Poor Matt.
Is there a
He's not going to commit to a specific date. We should be able to start moving his cars in, and close, personal friends of not customer cars yet, but that's going to free open some space in the main facility because again we're on a waiting list for that one.
right?
But I'm guessing, we'll be fully operational, at least to move cars in the first facility by May, and I'm thinking by June the other area should be remodeled depending on how far we want to go with it.
I understand that you didn't want to. Whatever, you were very cautious there. Those are both very soon.
Yeah. Oh
Those
no,
are
it's
both very
close.
soon.
It's very, very close. It's very close, and I mean it's still
Hell of
impressive.
an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's neat to see a friend be able to take his dream and succeed at that level. I mean, I remember when Matt started the podcasting, the YouTube videos with the Garage 419s and the Drive Network and things like that. And again, it goes back to here's a network of friends that you've maintained and you kept and you kept your word and you've had this integrity, you've had this bond.
You grow together.
And you grow together, and to see him, like so many of us have been able to do, it's pretty neat. It really is neat. So
God, your vibe is so good. I'm going to bring in producer Mike up here just for a minute because he is.
caught texting.
Yeah, totally. He was probably talking to the Instagram audience, I'm guessing.
I was. Kayla Delahant says that you are
hi, Kayla.
Superman, Vinny.
I missed it. What did he say?
Said what?
That Vinny is Superman
Oh, yeah, she's right.
and Superfly as well. I have a weird question for you.
Perfect.
Okay, you're talking about Bubba the Love Sponge, and then I realized your name. Has anybody ever confused you for the other Vince Russo that's out there?
To the WWE guy?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, because he's a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, verbally, yes, and
But you don't look alike, right?
no. I mean, he's
No.
an older gentleman and he's huge.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
you get.
Mark Wahlberg, I get all the
Mark-
time.
All the
Yes,
time.
I get all the time. But no, I mean, I've had most of the time I'll have people ask if I'm related to him in some way or another.
Like one of the Wahlburgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got
or
you, I
or
got
Vince
you.
Russo too. Like I'll get asked if I'm somehow related, and I'm sure if you go on some timeline long enough, our families are from Sicily somewhere together. But no, I mean, but yeah, it's funny. I and especially because I grew up the area I grew up in Tampa, just north of there. There was Greg Valentine lived there, Hulk Hogan lived there. There was a bunch of the rest. John Cena lives in that area just
that's
south
right.
of there. So there's a lot of
I
wrestlers.
think The Rock has
yeah,
that place
and
down
so-
there too.
Yeah, and so we, I actually went to summer camp one year with Greg Valentine's daughter, and I ended up becoming friends with Hogan's son Nick because he was a car guy, and I got all kinds of crazy stories about Nick.
Oh, that's
but
right.
yeah.
Nick and Brooke Hogan. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
So and then being with Bubba, I mean, I ended up getting to know Hulk as well a little bit. So it was I'm a fan of wrestling as well. Those guys are all very they're all big gentle giants.
I mean, were you just because you were around it, or
No,
were
I
you
was.
as a
I
kid?
was. So for me, like same thing in music as well. Like once I get to know the person and kind of see where they're from, I met so many artists over the years working in radio that I would either be super disappointed or my eyes would be open. And country was another thing. Like I wasn't a big country fan. I mean, yeah, okay, Charlie Daniels, maybe growing up a couple of things here and there, but I wasn't really a huge country fan. I was rap and rock. But once Lana started working at the country station, I get to meet these guys, the Keith Urbans of the world, and the Morgan Wallens and things like that. Like, and you get to know them as people. All of a sudden, their music means something different. And the same thing with wrestling. Like, I mean, I grew up a little bit of wrestling fan. I mean, a younger boy. We're all going to watch wrestling a little bit, but I got to know Greg Hart, which is a big promoter, working at the rock station. We used to promote all the wrestling events there. And,
Not related to Jimmy Hart, is he?
I don't think so.
You
No.
remember Jimmy Hart?
No.
No.
What? You don't know the guy in the picture there? Remember he was
yeah.
was he
Yeah.
Jake the Snake's manager? Whose manager was he?
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart, yeah, but Jimmy Hart isn't related to Greg Hart, is what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
No. But yeah,
No
so once I
relation.
get to know the wrestlers, like all of a sudden now it became it's a different show then at that point because now it's somebody you know. I worked at same thing. I didn't know much about sports. I grew up as a car guy. My dad was a mechanic, so I didn't know anything. I played beach volleyball and soccer growing up. Like I wasn't a football, baseball guy. Although my friends played and I would watch the games, but I wasn't like a Sunday drinking beer. My dad and I were in the garage on Sundays wrenching on cars. But I worked at a sports station for a number of times, and I ended up developing
Just immersed
relationships
in it.
with some of the Tampa Bay Bucks, Keyshawn Johnsons and things like that, and some of these other guys that played hockey. And now I'm watching the game. Now I have a friend that's actually playing in the game, and so
Now you're invested.
The neat part of it was that I couldn't talk sports with these guys because I didn't know anything about it. So where somebody else would come to be like, "Remember that time you caught that ball? You did that thing," and like. I'm sure, like after a while, it gets a little old. I mean, there's only so much you can be excited, and they love their fans. But
I think I can relate to this. You're saying, I think you're saying that you actually were more inside because you were outside.
because I was
right?
outside, exactly.
I've had the exact same
Yeah.
experience
So,
with
like,
all of the sports people.
Keyshawn Johnson would buy a new Ferrari 360, and like he knew he could talk to me about the Ferrari because I knew about the car
He
and
knows
didn't
you're
care
not
about
going
his
to bring up
sports.
sports, right?
Yeah, so
You're
it was
safe.
women in cars with the sports guys. That's all they ever wanted to talk about. If they had to talk sports, and even even that they had a show, they had to talk about the sports here and there. But like off air, they want to talk about their personal life because that's all they ever got a chance to talk about.
And they never get to.
No, they never get to because somebody eventually always brings up, what's your plan for this, or I'm sorry you lost, or whatever it is.
Dear
and
God, not present.
No.
Not
no.
something
So
present.
that it actually worked. Like you said, I was inside because I was outside. And so like watching the wrestling shows or watching the sports games, it was now I'm watching a friend, do their thing, and it became a different relationship. And with music as well, I'm listening to a song from a perspective of somebody that I actually know, and knowing hearing the stories behind the songs, and knowing and meeting their wives or their kids or meeting their dogs backstage, and
That applies to
kinda
any
crazy.
art, doesn't it? Because
really
I'm thinking
does.
of comedy, people we've supported, like, after you get to know them and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. It's any art, really.
Yeah, and so I always would encourage people to if you get a chance to meet somebody or be in a situation or even read a book, do a watch a listen to a podcast or watch a documentary. If you can understand that person beyond just what it is that they and you understand where they're coming from, you get this different a different perspective that you wouldn't normally get. And I got it in the automotive industry when I would talk to some of the designers. That the car designers, that they're I always thought it was the neatest thing. Like, here you are drawing a car, and then next thing you know, somebody's out there buying your car, and it doesn't matter if it's a Kia or a Bugatti. Like, it's still that same or a Hot Wheels. I was like, that's just got to be the neatest feeling, and
because it came from here.
It came from here.
I don't know. Where do you? I mean, you are creative in your own right sometimes, right? In certain ways.
Some ways.
You have to be creative to arrange your logistics.
It's mostly problem solving. Yeah, creative problem solving is really probably more than anything.
Well, where do I guess then your ideas come from the scenario and the situation. I'm trying to think of like people who paint or people who stand-up comedians. Like, where do the ideas come from? And basically,
they're inspired by the world around them, and they're to me, talking to the musicians, they're expressing the way that they see the world in using the talent they were given or developed.
Yeah, you're really right about that. But it seems like sometimes an idea will come outside of that.
Yeah.
And it seems to come from, like, I call it the creative tether, where it's like some.
But does it?
I don't know.
Is it
opened my eyes a little
is it
bit.
a lifetime worth of experience that all of a sudden, like, it may feel like it didn't come from anywhere, but maybe it did.
You collected it.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed is everyone picks up something from every experience.
Yeah.
And people that have unique stories like that and stand up and whatever, like, they have seen weird stuff. So when people talk about late night dinners that comedians go to, it's like, I know those conversations.
Yeah. And it's not just they've seen it, but they've observed in their way, and they have the talent of being able to bring you into their head, which sometimes is scary, given the comedians that you guys are friends with. But being able to share with the world the way that they saw that experience, and if you're lucky and talented enough that you're able to express that in a way that other people, can either be entertained or related by it. Because you think about it, you see a comedian, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to just be entertained because it's this insane story, or you can relate to it, which makes it funny because you've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always the talent of a storyteller to me, is me, or even a writer. I mean, it's they have this idea.
It's either entertaining or relatable. In the best case scenario, both.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Have you ever thought about doing stand-up?
Deep.
I told you why that happens. I put the air conditioning on.
That's probably right.
All of our stuff comes from everywhere. What have you ever thought about doing
I've
stand-up?
always been a huge fan of stand-up. Like, my mom was as well. My family was. I mean, and we used to listen to, George Carlin, and it was a joke because at a young age, I was listening to like George Carlin and some of these other guys, and if I didn't get the joke, my mom would make me go and research why it was funny.
Ooh, you mean if you said, "Hey, Mom, why blah 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 blah," and she'd go, "You go
like especially with George Carlin, because a lot of his was political, or and growing up in an Italian household, cursing didn't matter. So my mom didn't care that I was listening to the words that shouldn't. I hear worse than that at home. Yeah. So, but it was that was part of the deal. It's like okay, so if I didn't laugh at the joke, she's like, "Did you not get that?" No. It's like, okay, well, figure it out. Why?
I
why
love
was it
your
funny?
mom.
Yeah, my mom's awesome.
That's so cool.
And so I learned from my dad. The big thing was it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So between those two perspectives of learning the things, I love comedy, and I just don't know. I guess I don't know where to start with it, and like what I would be able to bring to the table with the perspective.
Oh gosh, that's the thing. All you got to do is talk. The interesting thing about it is likability is like the hardest part, and you just sort of have that. So you could just like walk on stage and start freeform and probably develop something very easily if you were the type of person who was willing to just go and do that.
You can be my manager then.
Okay.
I'm willing to take on the project if you want to work with me and do it. So
well, maybe we'll be writing buddies and partners, because I'm doing this. Going on the other day reminded, or really sort of pinpointed the part, like, oh yeah, you really should like learn to write some material and stuff. I don't know how to do that part. It's the idea of like, get up there and go talk to people. I'm your guy. I'm your guy. I have no problems. The more embarrassing it is for me, the better.
Yeah.
I feel like I overcome demons when I get the flop sweat and whatever else. I hate it in the moment, but I always feel better afterwards. But it would be nice to develop some actual material and then say something of importance on this show as well. And I feel like that's a skill I've yet to learn, and I also am hoping to be, managed in the future, because I feel like,
Or we could just lean on each other.
yeah, maybe that's the
Figure
way
it
to
out
do
that
it,
way.
because
So-
we both know the skills, and we can both identify the problems probably from the outside.
Yeah.
You'll just have to tell me mine, and
And we're lucky enough to be surrounded by enough people that are talented. I mean, with the friends that you have in the entertainment industry and the people that I, grew up knowing. I
both
mean,
of us, yeah.
so if anything ever happens, it happened here first.
Oh,
So
that's right.
This was the starting point. So in the future,
Everybody refer back to episode 544 with with the world's best podcast
You
guest,
were here.
Vinny Russo. No relation to Vincent Russo.
it's he goes by Vince,
Vince.
which I do not.
Right.
Yes.
Hey, Vince.
Yeah.
What's up, Vince?
Yeah, I just never liked it.
Vince.
And I was this smart ass.
Vince Clotho, Keymaster of
and,
Gozer.
and it's with a Y, not
What?
an IE.
No, sir.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah. It's with
sir.
a Y, not an IE. Like to the point where
VYNCE?
VINNY.
No, yours is. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you were saying the
No,
other guy,
no,
Vince,
him.
spells it VYN.
No. My name is with a
Oh,
Y.
man,
yeah.
I'm so silly.
In elementary school, they'd put my name on the board and they'd write an IE, and then they'd keep putting check marks, and they're like, I'm like, that's not me. I don't know whose name that is. I was like, mine's with a Y, and of course,
Do
my
you
mom
ever-
would get a call from the principal.
Because Vinny's being difficult. Do you ever do a Y with a little heart over it? I mean, an I with a little heart over it? God damn it, I ruined that.
Probably not, since I would, send the "Do you like me?" check this box.
Oh, that was so. See you at lunch.
I don't see the as an adult male who I would send a note and sign it with a heart to it.
Yeah,
so-
but Vince is the adult male version of Vinny, isn't it? Isn't that what you're like
No, see,
supposed
Vince-
to be? Or
me,
Vincent?
Vincent is,
Yeah.
is my actual name, but my nickname would be Vinny, and it's always with a Y. I just never like the IE, just for some reason.
But Vincent is okay.
Vincent is fine. Yeah, I mean Vincenzo.
Oh, I like
Vin.
that. Vincenzo,
I've
I like,
gotten,
'cause I
yeah,
grew up with that,
Vincenzo
yeah.
I've gotten too, so it's kind of crazy. But we all have our own little quirks.
Oh my God! Don't get me started.
Well, coming from a guy who spells his first name with one letter.
That was a mistake. I'm 45. Let's just call that what it is. That was a mistake.
And the mistake is my dad naming me the same name that he had, and having to go through life of getting letters and getting confused and back and forth, and yeah.
So you are related to but he was Vincent as well.
He was Vincent as well.
Yeah.
I'm technically the fifth.
No.
Not by title, but like if you go back in heritage, like his dad going back.
Different middle names? Same middle name?
Yeah, different middle names.
Okay,
like
so you're not
my middle
technically-
name is Joseph, which is my grandmother's name was Josephine, so that's where I got my middle name from. And my brother's name is Joseph, because my
hilarious.
parents asked me what my brother's name. What do you want your brother's name to be? And so my brother's named after my middle name.
That's wild.
There's way too much information.
Excuse me.
Don't care.
No, it's okay. We'll get to 1 second there, Mike. It's weird. The Josephine thing. My grandparents were Joseph and Josephine with the same last name before marriage. Isn't that weird? On my dad's side.
That's crazy.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, you would totally get made fun of nowadays for that.
Yeah. Joseph and Josephine getting married with the same last name already? Yeah, but it's very simple on the paperwork. What's up there, Mike?
I too share the same name as my father, and I was wondering, growing up, when you answered the phone and somebody asked, "Hey, is Vince there?" Did you have to say junior or senior?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
me too.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of universal.
The man or the boy?
It worked good at the school call, then I was in trouble. Let me speak to your father. Oh, Vincent? I'm like, you've got him.
Oh, yeah, you could tell. Yeah, you knew who. That's funny.
I even duplicated my dad's signature.
I did that one time on my mom. One time.
Well,
and
my
I
signature
got
is very-
caught, so it was the only time I
I
ever did it.
sign Vinny, but the way I do the V is exactly the same way. My dad signs Vincent, but like our V's are identical because I copied his signature, so I could.
It's hilarious. We should talk about what's more damaging to a kid, having the same name as a parent or having the same birthday as a parent.
Oh,
Because I have the same birthday as my mom, and
that's
it's a
bad.
problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Although I feel like, and when's your birthday?
September 6th.
Okay,
It's a
not
popular
bad.
birthday because of the December thing. It's cold in
Yeah.
the winter and Christmas and stuff.
Well, see, I have the worst birthday though. Mine's at the end of January.
Why is that the worst? What else is
Because-
going on?
I'll tell you why. And so growing up, you have your birthday in January. So if you have yours before Christmas or near Christmas, most kids are like, "Oh, my birthday's mid-December." That's
People
terrible.
are holiday at
I'm like, but they're in a spending mode though during Christmas time.
I got
I have my birthday when there
You're
are bills
not.
come in from Christmas.
Oh no!
So you know how many cards I got because their credit card bills, or they spent all their money on Christmas, so there's no more to. So yeah, so there was that. That's I still to this day, and I feel
Would
like the end of
never put that
January
together.
is the worst time to have a birthday because nobody's in the mood for spending at the end of January because it's literally like
the end of April, you've gotten the tax money back.
exactly.
Oh my God,
yeah, that's a good time to
Vinny.
have a birthday is
Vinny.
when tax season comes back in.
You have thought
I
this
found
through,
money.
sir.
Oh yeah, I lived it.
Oh,
I
man.
lived it. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, okay. Anybody that has I have a couple of friends like Jennifer Nicole's birthday is on Christmas, and she used to always
That's
complain.
worse.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
Christmas Day.
it is, but it's not because again,
Spending
you may
money.
get combined presents. But
That's
you're
what I
still-
feel like.
you-
She gets screwed. She
yeah,
gets the
a little
combined
bit,
presents.
but she still gets presents.
Oh,
Not
but
just
you
getting
don't
a
get
happy birthday
nothing.
card.
Oh God. Well, you got the Christmas presents.
Yeah, I got the Christmas present.
So it's
but
the
that was
same
Christmas.
thing.
Yeah, but the June birthdays, I mean, that's you get a whole like.
We're going on a trip.
You get new stuff twice a year. Like June, middle of the year is probably the best. Because,
June's
like,
great because you're
yeah.
about to go on summer
You
break.
got
or whatever.
vacation.
Yeah.
You get new toys to play with on vacation, or you
Absolutely.
get to go on vacation for your birthday. You know,
Oh.
we're gonna, it's your birthday. We're gonna go to Disney World.
Dude.
That doesn't happen in December
No.
or January.
No, you can't do it. Well, unless you're going for but January definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
So there you go.
Also, that's the time when we're all supposed to buckle down because it's like the winter time.
Right.
It's like we've all stored our nuts and we're all just gonna kind of.
Well, I mean, you got New Year's resolutions. I'm going to save more. I'm going to whatever. I'm going to be more fruit. Whatever the reason is, it seems like always gotten screwed.
eat less chocolate, or it seems
Yeah.
to be people.
Yeah, so like
sweets.
no
Lose
cakes.
weight. Lose weight.
Lose
isn't
weight.
it?
Yeah.
Lose
so-
weight. Number one answer.
Yeah.
Ding.
So we ended with birthday salads. I don't know, whatever.
Birthday
that didn't
salads.
Happen. That didn't happen, but anyways.
Pick anything you want off the menu as long as it's on the left side here.
Right.
Like a stand-up club, comedy club. There's a name for that.
So
Let's see. Hot Wheels. We did Formula Drift.
oh yeah.
Happening now, starting today.
Press day was today, so they
So
went
it's
out.
this week.
So this week starts at Long Beach is effectively screwed for the next week and a half because with the Grand Prix coming right after that. But yeah, Formula Drift season starts this year. It's going to be, I think, probably as the way things look, probably the biggest of the history of Formula Drift. So
Wow.
a lot of new cars, a lot of teams, a lot of new sponsors.
How did the LA Auto Show thing work out with the Formula
Amazing.
Drift? Because it didn't look like that much room when they were setting it up where they were doing it.
wasn't.
But then I saw when it was done and it actually happening live, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, the drivers. I mean, I would put a drift driver up against any Formula One driver as far as skill set any day of the week. I mean, it's
Totally different skill set.
yeah,
though.
different skill set again, but it's
The
still on the
precision,
same
you mean.
level of precision and impressiveness. I mean, to be able to have that level of control that for those who don't know, like the LA Auto Show was like a, I don't know, like a small area with a planter in the middle of it, and they were drifting around this area that I probably couldn't drive a car
Yeah.
around without hitting something.
It would have
and these
been
guys
a
are
nice
you know,
golf cart track.
Yeah, and the city of LA was nice enough to be able to permit it and let them do it and throw smoke all throughout the city and make a lot of noise for a couple of weekends here and
It
there.
was
But
awesome.
it went amazing. So we're
Do people like it too?
Well,
Because that's a crowd pleaser, right?
oh
the
yeah,
Formula
yeah,
Drift.
it went really really well.
Good.
It was because nobody had ever seen anything like that at the auto show. So the idea the LA Auto Show brought this year was like they wanted to do. I mean, auto shows have taken a dive between COVID and everything else going on. Like it's the same basic thing. You can get a lot of the information you get at the auto show on, online now. But the idea the LA Auto Show wanted to do is say, okay, let's make it a little bit more interactive. So there were a lot of, get in the car and drive around. And now with electric cars, you can do that stuff inside where you couldn't do a lot of that before. And they have the space. So they were really focusing on making it an experience again. Learn about the cars, get to, and yeah, you get to sit in the car and see it's neat and touchy-feely and all that kind of stuff like that, which is fantastic for those that like the auto show. But, they wanted to bring to the table things that nobody had seen before in the auto show, and no other auto show in the country is doing it. And we're going to be involved. ID Agency is going to be involved again this year. And,
excellent.
The early talks, the auto show wants to even bring it harder this year and bigger. So they're going to really set the tone for all the auto shows.
The auto show in general was pretty impressive, I thought, because it's like everything you said. Nobody
Yep.
really. It's hard to get people out
Yeah.
these days. When I was a kid, it was always like, oh, this is neat, the touchability, but it would be really cool to
Yeah,
drive
'cause-
around or get a ride. Now the that one room that had all of the crazy,
All the
was like
climbing
a
stuff
roller
with Jeep
coaster.
and Ford and the interaction stuff with Dodge.
all the
and-
way up into the rafters of the fucking convention
I mean,
center.
Subaru brought out a playpen with puppies, and they had their puppy donation area that was there. I mean, nobody's ever done that kind of stuff in years before.
That was the most impressive booth there, in my
The
opinion.
Subaru booth? Oh my
created
God.
an entire world where
Yeah, it
you
was
felt
Swiss
like
Family Robinson.
yeah, it was with the suspension bridge and everything. But you felt like you were in Utah or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Moab.
I mean, and to be able to bring that, I mean, we had none of the auto shows had ever done that kind of stuff before. So,
Everyone's using those digital screens now, it seems, to their advantage. Everyone's like, oh, you just bring it in and you create an environment.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, but it was pretty cool to see. That
it was,
Subaru one was good.
This year will be even bigger. And now all the other auto shows have to try and catch up and figure out on their own, but it'll be good. It'll be good.
The Cars and Coffee thing? Do that again?
Yep, but we're trying to figure out a way to expand it one step better. And my idea to the auto show was earlier this year, and they're trying to figure out how to do it, is to, in partnership with Avance, to be able to bring in the Cars and Coffee and shut the auto show down for either like at night, have the last hour of the auto show be just for the people that are involved with Cars and Coffee, or just the people that are involved with Avance, and basically have the show to yourself.
Oh, that's pretty
So,
cool.
maybe earlier in the morning, do an hour before it opens, or keep it open an hour after, and make a kind of a mixer out of it or something like that. But we'll do something like that. But we'll do the Cars and Coffee again.
I think it was fun, and everybody who went had a great time. It almost seemed like people didn't know about it, like the word. Like we just
I mean, it was first year out, and again, the auto show, your preconceived notion of what it is, nobody expected that to happen
at all.
So they weren't looking for it. But now that it's there, we've got videos and pictures of what happened, and we can promote it a little bit better. Of this is what we did last year, and find some bigger partners to to come in and bring it out. And
because we had a great time.
We also split it between 2 days because the idea at first was to try and have it themed 2 different kind of, like, bring some cars in one day and some cars the other day. So we'll make it bigger and just do one day and just focus it on one.
Okay.
That way we're not splitting, the crowd and just making it one big special day. So, they're trying to make it so on the weekends there's something going on every day, like, again, Drift one day and, Cars and Coffee another day and stuff like that. So there'll be something going on, like, almost every day special like that.
That's one thing that was interesting this year, was there was incentive to go a couple times because things were changing up, or
there was
something wasn't
different there.
Mm-hmm.
Something different. And that's, they were really smart about, with having such a lull in the auto shows over the years prior. Because even before COVID, like, it was kind of still getting a little stale. And
is it because we all have access online now? We can just
I
see
think that's kind of
everything.
what it
The
is.
information comes to us. We don't
Yeah.
have to go there anymore.
I mean, you used to go there, you'd walk home with a bag full of brochures, and you'd stick them on your wall. You'd get to read through it, and now, a lot of that stuff is you can do it online. I mean, people are buying cars online, just having them delivered to their house, or not even test driving them.
Yeah, the idea that we'd go home with paper is pretty antiquated, isn't it?
So it's.
But I used to look so forward to that.
Yeah.
I'd look through all the brochures.
I
Some
used
of them
to-
gave posters that you'd put up.
Yeah, where there'd be some sort of celebrity in the booth that you could meet, and that was the other reason you were there, or something like that. So
I hung my bag up once. I can't remember what the bag was, but the bag was something. So I hung my
Yeah,
bag
you
on
hung
the
the
wall.
bag up, and
What
so
a nerd.
There was always free stuff. Maybe somebody was giving away a Hot Wheel. Maybe somebody was giving away stickers. I mean, you
stickers.
go there for
Yeah.
stickers all
Car
the
cleaning
time,
products,
and anything-
rags.
yeah, did sample products of all
Keychains.
kinds of things. Keychains were big back in the day. I
Pens,
mean,
yeah.
I didn't even have keys, but I had keychains.
Yep.
So it was
Lanyards.
like-
Those lanyards.
Yeah.
were
Oh
big.
yeah. All so it's stuff like that we all grew up with. But now,
It was trick or treating for adults with the auto show stuff.
for car kids. But we did. I remember, and I don't know if I talked about this last time, but like the Lamborghini dealer in Orlando that was one of the oldest Lamborghini dealers in the country. They would come to Tampa because that was the closest big show. They would come to Tampa every year, and I would go there and I'd bother the guys in the booth, because I wanted to sit in the Lamborghinis. I wanted to talk about the Lamborghinis because I was a geeky car kid.
How old
And-
were you at that point?
10, 12.
Okay, cool.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Perfect.
And there was this one guy, his name was Monty Patterson, and he was a sales guy at the time, and then he was with the company the entire time. He ended up as a GM. And my mom had taken a picture of me and Monty and her in front of a Countach. And I had completely forgot about it. And then fast forward to when I got the job at Lamborghini, years into that job, my mom had gone through some stuff and found the picture of me. And now remember, Monty's now the GM, and I'm his regional rep.
Unbelievable.
And my mom found the picture. We digitized
And there's no
it.
way that this guy would remember that from that day, right? Because he
No.
probably had a million of those experiences.
But when I showed him the picture, all of a sudden he remembered that I would come and bother him every year. And he kept that picture. We digitized it, and I gave him a printed copy of it, and he kept it in his office. And every time a kid would come into the dealership and do the same thing that I would do at the auto show, he'd be like, "See this guy right here on the wall?" He's like, "He used to come and bother me at the auto show, and now he works for Lamborghini."
wow.
I love that.
Which
That's
so
badass.
it's kind of crazy. Again, it goes back to you never know this industry's. You never
So
know
cool.
who's going to come back.
That's
that
so
was,
cool.
20 years later that I was bothering him at the auto show, and now I'm his rep for Lamborghini, his after sales rep. So
I love
it's
it.
crazy.
I
crazy.
absolutely love it.
But yeah, so the auto shows are stepping their game up a lot this year, and the LA Auto Show is going to be no exception.
Is there anything else professionally we were supposed to talk about?
Probably not.
I wanted to talk about Westside Collector Car Storage, formerly Drift. I knew we had to talk about Hot Wheels. We definitely covered. Anything else we should talk about? I love seeing you. Like I could literally just talk to you forever.
Yeah, we do when we hang out. So I mean, yeah, I mean it's.
Thanks for
what's
inviting
going
us
on-
to your birthday, by the way, because that was a lot of fun doing that. I mean,
It
just
was a
watching you
lot
guys
of
top
It's been a long
golf.
time since we did like a birthday party, and I was like, and that was all Tanis. So she's like, we're doing something for your birthday. I was like, it's just a birthday. It's no big deal. And she's like, nope, we're doing it. So I mean, she's been amazing,
She
pushing me
did
to
good.
keep my Cadillac. I wouldn't have the Cadillac back. I bought that car back, you know, because she pushed me and knew how much I loved it. And
Wow.
and she you know, having a so Harold Cleworth is a very well known famous automotive artist. He's had displays up at the Peterson. He's done, you know, a lot of the, you know, the Pebble Beach posters and things like that. Harold had penned over the years, and she was a client of hers in the real estate industry, and she had kind of known him through her industry, and she knew who he, but she didn't realize the level of, you know, how important he was. And then when I bought the Cadillac back one year, she commissioned him to do a painting of my Cadillac. And so now I'm forced to keep the car for life because now I have this. And then to follow it up, my mom, again, who's a stained glass artist, made me a stained glass window of the Cadillac.
Of the caddy.
Very similar. So now I have the shrine of my Cadillac, you know, from there. And my friend Imran back in Orlando found a die-cast version of the Cadillac, which, funny enough, the same Cadillac that was in Reservoir Dogs. The only like real 65 Caddy die-cast they ever made was a spin-off from Reservoir Dogs, and it was
Oh, it's supposed to be the movie
it was
car.
the movie car.
Oh, hilarious.
But it was like in this off-white cream color, which is what the color was in the movie. Well, Imran works at this place called Ultimate Auto.
They painted it for you.
Not only painted it, fully customized it. Like he took this thing apart and he sent me the build pictures that it took him and his guys like a month. They took it apart, sprayed it BASF white.
Oh my God.
Like went through his one guy took the whole thing apart and lowered the suspension on it so that when it sat there, like the tires were lowered so it looked like it was on airbags. I mean, he did a little like a custom license plate for it.
Probably
That's a
put the right
65
wheels
Caddy.
on it and everything.
I mean, it was insane, and I've never to this day had anybody like go through that extent of making me a present like that. But now I have this shrine of all of these like little Cadillac things that I've had, so it's kind of neat.
You bring up tennis, and as much as I love you, I have to tell you,
It's okay if
she's
you like her
so
better. We all do.
awesome.
Yeah.
I just really relate to her. Like
Yeah.
we have some weird
Yeah,
idiosyncrasies about
you
each other.
specifically, her and him have, you know, with anxiety issues and things like that. Like you guys have a bond that even I don't have with her. So you and I can relate to having to live with one of
Yeah.
these, and you know, and you two can relate to having, you know.
It seems like
a
our
level of
strengths
social
are our
anxiety.
strengths,
Yeah.
and our weaknesses are our
It's
weaknesses.
funny because the
so
first
we
time
can-
she met you, she came back. She's like, I really like him. She's like, he gets me.
Yes. Yeah. And it's very few and far between for people to
Yeah.
get us because we do feel very weird. Wow.
So it's
Anyway,
kind of cool.
good
See,
stuff.
it's a strange world that we live in. It's a very small world to be able to, you know, interact with people like that and relate. So kind of crazy.
Canada Mike, how we doing? We good?
Oh, I mean, we're great. I just love the whimsy. I love. I think one of the things that I love about this community that you guys have built is that it's filled with people who dream about stuff to the point where they actually immerse themselves in it and make a career out of it. And I love that. Vinny, I love the Lamborghini story. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was
With the picture, that's
Yeah, it's a
badass.
cool story. It is. And you know, unfortunately, Monty passed away. He was a chain smoker like you wouldn't believe, and anybody that knows of him, and he's a legend in the world. He's been around the industry for 4 decades or something insane, and he was a top Lamborghini sales guy. His dealer was literally one of the oldest dealers in the country. It was probably next to maybe Miami. In Longwood, Florida, or just outside of Orlando. You wouldn't think it, but the gentleman that started it was Bentley, Rolls-Royce, and Lamborghini, in this little town just north of Orlando. And like, who the hell's going to do that? But
He's like, the money will come.
yeah,
And
but
it did.
But he did, and he kept it going. It's still there now. It's gotten taken over by a bigger corporation when Peter got a little bit older. But but again, like even there, like I've had friends like the girl I knew that was the receptionist is now the general sales manager for McLaren.
Hilarious.
She's worked her way up from there, and her
That says a lot about them too. That
Yeah.
that people want to stay there.
and her husband was like he was washing cars when I first met him. They were dating, and now he's in the service department, high up on the chain there as well. And it goes back to like seeing everybody grow throughout the industry and all stay friends. The good ones. We filter out the ones that shouldn't be through eventually. So
Life has a way.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Life has a way of figuring that
does.
stuff out. Thank you for everything. Let us know when we can do Good Vibes at Westside Collector Car Storage, because
Yeah, it'll be soon.
we're going to go scout the mountain tomorrow to see if we can maybe get back,
Yeah,
not
I mean,
to Newcomb's, but to Plan B.
Update on how the mountains are going and Newcomb's
Well,
Ranch.
I went up last week on Thursday, but it was right after the snowstorm.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was allowed to go some places I probably wasn't allowed to go.
Because you're you.
Yeah. They did, kind of. It sort of might have been that, yeah.
The unofficial mayor.
But I put the hazards on and drove real slow. But that was right after the snowstorm, so there was snow everywhere up at Plan B. Plan B for us is Mill Creek Summit, which is like on Angeles Forest Highway between Palmdale and 9 Mile. We're gonna check it out again tomorrow, because if it's not snow and whatever, and we can get to it, we'll go congregate there. And that's a place we used to use during like the fires and sometimes when there's rock slides
Have you
and shit.
ever seen it like that up there before? I mean, you've been in this
Yeah,
area a long
yes,
time.
but not where that happened. It happened like that further up, and that's why it's indefinitely closed between whatever it is, Islip Saddle and Big Pines, because of exactly that. There's a name for it. It's not just the water and erosion, but there's a name for it, like undercuts. They call it undercuts or something like that.
So it's all literally dangerous to even be up there at this point.
My personal opinion is on the crest. Let those guys do whatever they need to do to get us back in business as quickly as possible. That's my personal opinion. People are definitely still going up to Mount Wilson, but you just have to turn around and come back. You can't go any further. Yeah. And you can't go up to Mount Wilson.
It was the same
either.
when the fires happened too. Like they could only go so far because it was, they were worried about all of that.
Yes, but it wasn't an unstable
No, it was
existing environment. Like it's currently unstable, so the people who live beyond it had to leave. The people who live at the Christian camp, they had to stop doing business and leave. They're all spattered about down here at the well, and they were out of water because their water thing collapsed from all the snow and all of the things, propane.
Crazy.
And the same thing with the Chileo folks. They just can't get in and out. So yeah, it's a disaster. It will get fixed. I mean, they're in the process of it, but I mean, you saw how that is. Like, I'm guessing they have to drive something down into the earth where it's broken, backfill it all in, then stamp it all down, put some rock on it, then think about paving it. Right? It's a lot of work.
We live in a world where anything is possible with enough time or money, and if you don't have one, you do more of the other.
And the good thing is there's plenty of material up there to work with. So it's not like they've got to truck dirt up from the bottom or whatever. They've got it placed all over from falls and spills and slides and everything.
It'll all return to normal someday.
Yeah.
Whatever normal is.
But in the meantime,
updates.
We've been very happy with, some different places have offered to host us, and we've had a great time. But it would be nice to, both support friends and also get back into the mountain. So let's do both of those things.
I guess, like anything else, it doesn't matter, where we are as long as we're all together, right?
That's sort of what we've figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, once Newcomb's closed, we were kind of like, well, it's not about the burrito anymore, is it?
No, it was just about having a good time. So, very cool.
How do people stay in touch with all of the things that you are doing? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is probably, that seems to be the easiest with everybody else. It's Vinny Russo 1, and then, the ID agency and Westside all have their own Instagrams that, whatever project we happen to be working on, whether it's a Legends tour or something for Rockstar or, ID's involved with LAFC. The caddy was actually, I've got to get up, today's the 4th, I've got 3 more days. So there's on the downtown on the corner, I loaned the car for a photo shoot for the Angel City, the female football club.
Okay.
And so one of the players lives in my building, and they saw the car and like, hey, we're doing this new line of clothing. Can we use the car for a photo shoot? I was like, sure. And of course, it's pouring rain the day they decided to do it.
Always.
They're like, oh man, we're sorry you can't bring that. I was like, I can bring the car. I was like, I don't care. It's not a show car. Like,
at least it's not a convertible.
Yeah, it can get wet. But they ended up using a clip of the car with the air ride going up and down as part of the loop, and it's on the video screen across from the convention center. There's the LEDs that kind of wrap around the side of the building.
Yeah.
So if you the the commercial, I guess, is what it really is for their new clothing line is on there, and there's maybe a 3 or 4 second clip of my car, in there. And
so are you gonna get the car there and then get?
Just the idea is I
right
gotta
on.
get the car there. So
Yeah.
you can see some of the pictures. Is one of the girls who was super cool was sitting in the car, and there's a couple of pictures of her wearing the jersey in the car, and doing that.
I'm the kind of nerd who digs at people are. These days, it's hard to impress anybody.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, and there weren't things like that where you could just pipe it up there. The first one was called the Jumbotron, and it was
yeah.
in Times Square.
Yeah.
It was like sponsored by Sony and whatever. The Jumbotron.
Oh yeah.
I used to work on the TV show News Radio, and we did a whole new opening all around different actual places in Manhattan, and one of which was right there in Times Square. And it was very cool to have control over the Jumbotron for the 6 or 7 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was that we had it, because it's all money, right? That's money up there. But to be there in Times Square with our camera controlling what's up there, it was neat
really
that we all got
surreal.
we all got
surreal.
pictures in front of being on the
That's cool.
Jumbotron. But exactly what you're talking about. It's like, here we are, but there we are, but here we are, but there we are. So stupid.
Cool.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah, I love you guys too. So thank you for having me.
Canada Mike, you've got a good guest on the show this Friday?
Yeah, Glenn Borders, who was the head of special effects for The Late Show with David Letterman. He was in the special effects department and the head of it for about 10 years, but he was there for 21. He's on.
Ooh, 21. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks.
Let's see. Tomorrow we're gonna go pick up your new glasses and then go scout the mountain.
Cool.
And then Thursday we have doctor stuff with you. But then Emmy Hall and Lynn Woodward are on the show together, which is cool for me because it'll be a reunion because I met them two together doing Matt's podcast one day when Zach
about
wasn't
Formula
there.
D because she was there today.
Who?
Lynn.
She was?
Yeah.
I will do just that.
So.
We good?
Yeah.
Mike, you good? All right.
I'm
We
great.
love everybody.
Love you guys.
Nice seeing you, Mike.
You too, buddy.
We love everybody. Please love one another, and we'll see you out there.
Where did you get this music? Did you have this
Free library.
Seriously? It's called. Hell yeah, why not? Artist I've been musician I've been following like fallen in love with Cass Haley, and white guy that